All right, we are back. What is up, YouTube family? This is now the live stream for boxing. So for all my boxing homies, come right in. We're gonna be cooking for a while. I'm gonna be addressing the Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter drama hysteria, and yeah, let's get right to it, man. I think it's pretty safe to say that Terence Crawford, he's in a position where he doesn't really need to, you know, really like hold his breath anymore. I think everybody knows what he's about now. I personally think that Terence Crawford is in a really bad position, just simply for the fact that when you do look at this situation between him and Shawn Porter, he wanted to try to be nice about this, but I think in the sport of boxing, no friends are made when it comes to the business aspect of things. And let's just get real on it, man. Terence Crawford, he's almost kind of like acting like Canelo Alvarez in a way. I personally think that because I think Terence Crawford is not using his abilities to the max, and he's making everything harder than for what it seems. And the issue with Crawford is just simply like I think he's on that path of marvelous Hagler or Tommy Hearns type of thing. Like he loves he used to love the sport of boxing, but now he doesn't. Hey, what's up, Mo? I really want to see that fight. Yeah, I want to see the fight too. I think Terence Crawford has no choice but to fight Shawn Porter unless he tries to duck him and then he tries to vacate his belt. You know, similar to like what Canelo Alvarez did to Charlo. And I would hope that Crawford he does not do that because the reason why is because there's a lot of reputation on the line now, and if Crawford does not fight Shawn Porter, there is going to be a lot of flame coming from Terence Crawford's critics, and I probably say including his own fans. I I personally think Terence Crawford could possibly edge out Shawn Porter, but Shawn Porter he's not the type of fighter to be to be looked as a low tier opponent. Like this guy has been taking out top names, and I like honestly I put Shawn Porter on the S tier level because he's still dangerous, just like Danny Garcia, just like Errol Spence. Like I probably say maybe a step above Keith Thurman, even though Keith Thurman did beat him. But if you just look at how his style translate with anybody in the top 10 of the 147-pound division, Shawn Porter is an absolute monster. And I will kid you not, have we ever seen any fights of Terence Crawford's career that is anywhere near Shawn Porter's career? And the answer is no, because Terence Crawford, he's been fighting guys that are not even at that level of giving you a tough fight. And I personally believe Terence Crawford, he's trying to keep, I guess like this weird friendship together with Porter, knowing that Porter is your mandatory. And I don't think that's how it works in boxing. Like if you have a mandatory, you just can't like avoid it. I mean, yeah, you can vacate like your belt, but nah, it's just like if Crawford does that and he's trying to do that for the sake of keeping his friendship together with Shawn, I don't think that's a smart idea. I think it's best to just settle your business, with someone, even if you're friends with them. Like I understand it's boxing, but I don't think LeBron James would just take it easy on Kobe Bryant, even though that they were friends. So I think in that same aspect, I'm not going to take it easy on someone even if I'm friends with them in a sport like boxing. Like I understand it's a very deadly sport. I I would put boxing as literally the most dangerous sport in the world, next to wrestling, but it's like the totality of what fighters go through, people don't understand. Like it's still a business and people still got to make money. And Shawn Porter, he has that caliber of becoming a big prize fighter, but people just don't give him enough respect. Mo Boxing said if Bud knocks out Porter, then people have to take him serious. Of course he does. Terrence Crawford did not get tested enough in his career. And for him to say that he's number one pound for pound, why aren't you going after the top guys in your division? You know, you had the opportunity to fight Keith Thurman. You did not want to fight him when you went up to 147. You said, I'm going to get a belt at 147 and I'm going to take over that division after you defeated 140-pound division for undisputed. So, the thing is that you could have easily moved up to 147, fought Keith Thurman, beat the living crap out of him, and then after that, you could have easily challenged, I would say, Errol Spence or Shawn Porter, Danny Garcia, any of those guys at 147 that had a belt before Errol Spence reached his IBF against Kell Brook, Crawford could have fought Kell Brook the same time frame as Errol Spence tried to go after him. But he decided not to do that. He decided to go the easiest route to fight Jeff Horn, a guy that doesn't have a good resume. And this guy literally got a robbery decision over Manny Pacquiao, which I would probably say it could have been 50-50, but just by looking at it, Pacquiao, he did step it up, and it looked like he did win from my lens, but it's like, Crawford, you're making yourself look horrible, dude, and I used to like you, and I still like you, as a person outside of boxing, but I think in boxing, Crawford, he's a dick. Absolute, horrible, horrible business person to work with. It's business, no such thing as friends in boxing. Of course. I'm not going to just be playing around with somebody that has a belt. Even if I'm friends with them in my division, I'm going to tell them straight up, look, I understand that we're homies outside of the sport, but inside that ring, no, I'm going to come in with a killer mentality, and I'm going to annihilate you. That's how boxing should always be, 24/7. I've never seen that in the history of boxing, where some boxer tries to say, "Oh, I'm not gonna fight this guy because me and him we're buddies." Nah, man. You gotta go in there with pure confidence every time you step in there, because every fight could be your last fight. And it's I'm not gonna let no friendship, become a barrier for me to become successful in the sport I love. But the issue being of this particular live stream is that Shawn Porter came out and said, I will knock out Terence Crawford. Well, that's how I kind of, put it in my own interpretation. But it is very good that Shawn Porter is doing this, because the main reason why is because Shawn Porter, I don't know how he thinks, but I want to say that he's trying to wait it out to see what Crawford is going to do. And then if Crawford's not going to give Shawn Porter a good fight, as far as, offering him, the most money that he should be getting, knowing that Bob Arum, calls the shots, so I should be saying that. But if Bob Arum's not going to give Porter what he deserves, and if the fight does go to purse bid, and let's just say Triller comes in to take the fight and pay both guys a crazy amount of money, which I think this should be on pay-per-view. For anybody listening, that will probably watch this later, I personally think this fight should be pay-per-view. Because the reason why is because if Crawford does pull the unexpected and beat Shawn Porter in a brutal fashion, better than Errol Spence did, I think Crawford could make himself look a lot more valuable if he wanted to fight Errol Spence after this fight. But here's the issue. What if Crawford does not get to that level? What if Shawn Porter knocks this guy out? This is literally the biggest question that Terence Crawford fans don't want to answer. And I personally think Crawford, he's going to have to go through tooth and nail to beat Shawn Porter. Shawn Porter is not a slouch. This guy barely gets dropped. The only two people that were to ever drop him, actually no, it was three people. Three people were ever to drop Shawn Porter, and those names were Adrian Broner, Errol Spence, and Danny Garcia. Yeah, yeah, that's true. So Shawn Porter, he does not get dropped a lot. He does not have like this like vulnerability to like what these Terence Crawford, you know, man fans, I would say, that think that Shawn Porter's such an easy opponent. And I mean, look, if Crawford gets dropped in that fight, then I don't think Crawford's going to be looked as a marketable favorite against Errol Spence. And I think Errol Spence will probably like look at him like, yeah, dude, you're not gonna be like worth like my fight. And I think Errol Spence will probably look at that fight as a blueprint to beating Crawford. But I think this fight is going to be a very difficult fight to score. It's definitely going to be either a split decision or I would probably say a knockout because this is not going to go to the judges. If Crawford decides to bang with Porter like he did with let's just say Igis Kavaleskis, right? That's going to be a very deadly fight, and I don't think that's a smart idea. I mean, people want to say Shawn Porter, he doesn't have knockout power. Yes, he does. It's just that Shawn Porter, he decides not to knock people out. He actually likes to make things more brutal for 12 rounds rather than knocking somebody out. And Shawn Porter made a really good point, I believe, a couple months back to say that it's better to not look for the knockout than going for a knockout. And I think, like, if you look at the Sebastian Formella fight, which that fight almost looked like Formella almost got stopped. And Formella, he was getting banged up for 12 rounds. Like, Porter was smashing him. He was hitting him left and right. He was moving back and forth. And like, literally, he was eating him alive. And I just think, like, if you saw that Shawn Porter against a Terence Crawford, I think Crawford is going to get stopped or he's going to get brutally tired to a point where it's going to be a absolute war. And I don't ever see Porter like ever getting hurt to a standard where Crawford just hits him with like a check left hook or a straight right jab. Like, it's going to be an absolute battle. But in regards to the fight, I would probably say this fight is definitely gonna have to be, at least a good pay-per-view. I mean, if Crawford does do good numbers, then maybe that will help with the negotiations with Spence. But let's just say Crawford does beat Porter in a knockout. I guess in the sense is like if the pay-per-view vibes were actually like really really good, like let's just say if he hit like I don't know, like three to 400,000 pay-per-view buys. Would that ever change, the negotiations from 60-40 to maybe a 50-50? I would say no. I would say it would probably be like at least I don't know. Maybe man, I can't even think of it right now cuz honestly, it would probably be 55-45 or I don't even know, man. I think Crawford he should just take the 60-40 honestly cuz it's really not going to change anything unless he were to go after Yordanis Ugas, which I think to my personal opinion you don't have to believe in what I say, but I think he is avoiding Yordanis Ugas because he thinks that Ugas could be a risky fight. But if he were to beat Shawn Porter and let's just say knock him out, how is that helping him in negotiations with Spence? Like if you're going to want to get your 50-50, I would just say get Ugas and get him out the way. Cuz now like you have Ugas coming out of his way trying to say like he wants 50-50 against Errol Spence now, and I'm like, Ugas, like, are you dumb, dude? Like, I don't know if Ugas and Bud are related in being dumb, but it's like, dude, you guys are not going to get up to Spence's level. Like, Crawford does not have the amount of pay-per-view buys compared to Errol Spence. Errol Spence has at least, like, I want to say at least under 1 million pay-per-view buys, but from what I know, I think he does, like, I don't know. I would have to look at that, but if I'm gonna give myself like a wild guess, it's gonna be at least 900,000, all like yeah, all together. Because if he's averaging at least 300,000 per pay per view, which I don't know how many times he's done pay per view because he's only been a unified champion for at least. Actually, no. I would say at least maybe like a year. I'm not too sure. Yeah, he beat Kelbrook, and then after Kelbrook, he then went to face. I think it was Shawn. Yeah, I would have to. Yeah, I would have to look at that, but I'm pretty sure his pay per views were only against Shawn Porter and maybe I don't know. Oh yeah, Danny Garcia, Shawn Porter and Danny Garcia would make sense. Yeah, I would have to look at that, but basically, Errol Spence does way more numbers than Crawford, and Ugas has never been on pay per view, so I don't know why the hell he's even talking about ever trying to get a big payday. I mean, yeah, you're gonna get paid, but you're not gonna get paid to the extent of Errol Spence. Like, Errol Spence has more marbles, and he does way more work, on I guess like the heavy lifting compared to Ugas, and Ugas he's not gonna get to the A side unless he were to beat Errol Spence in his next fight, which I don't think that's gonna happen. Like now I'm hearing that Keith Thurman is actually in the talks with Ugas to fight him, and let's just be honest. If Keith Thurman does beat Ugas, which I think that would be a pretty easy win for Keith because stylistically Ugas is not even at the level of Keith Thurman. I think Keith Thurman could possibly stop him, but if not, easy unanimous decision. But if he beats Ugas, then Errol Spence is going after Keith Thurman. And I don't think Keith Thurman's ever going to go after Crawford because he knows that Crawford's not going to give him anything but probably just like a crappy offer. And remind you, Keith Thurman, he was looking forward to fighting Crawford. Like, Bob Arum obviously gave him such a crappy deal. I don't know what it was, but I think it was under like $1 million. And Keith Thurman was like, "Nah, get the hell out of here. I'm not doing no $1 million plus incentives." So, Keith Thurman was like, "Get the I'm not gonna be crossing paths with Crawford." And honestly, like I think Crawford just needs to leave Top Rank because what Crawford is doing right now, business wise, he's just letting Bob Arum do all the talking, and he's not becoming his own promoter. Like he's not promoting his own deals off, like off the back end to gain sponsorships from networks or gain any financial support with what he's conducting business with, and he's letting Bob Arum do all that crappy business that he doesn't know what's going on. He's letting someone control his money when he should be the one controlling his own money. You have to pay out your managers. You gotta, get extorted, from all the state taxes, and you have to pay off to your promoter. Like that's well over 60% of your money gone, and I'm pretty sure he barely has like 40%, left to just keep a small portion of like what he's making. And I think I was heard that Bob pays him like an extra $1 million if he doesn't have like a fight with Spencer Pacquiao. I don't even understand why Bud fans think that he's gonna get this fight with Pacquiao. How is Manny Pacquiao helping your career grow? How? What is Manny Pacquiao doing for a Terence Crawford, career legacy other than Crawford knocking him out and then Pacquiao's gonna be like, I mean, Crawford is a good fighter, but this fight was a good fight, and I do not know what is going on. Like seriously, Manny Pacquiao, get the hell out of boxing. Literally, get the hell out of boxing. I love you, old man, but let me tell you something. I don't want you to get killed by a guy like Terence Crawford, and I'd probably say Mikey Garcia would Juan Manuel Marquez you again. You're gonna get knocked out in the fourth round or the 10th or 11th round. I don't know, man. But Pacquiao, he literally held up everything. Like if Pacquiao was not champion and Keith Thurman, like let's just say if he beat Pacquiao that first go, then Keith Thurman would make everything better. Like everything better would just like basically everything would simulate more proper if Keith Thurman was the champion, and everything can just level out a lot easier. Because if Keith Thurman did beat Pacquiao, the only thing he needed to do was fight Errol Spence, and let's just say he gets his ass beat. He could come back, probably fight Crawford, or I'd probably say no. Actually, he would probably maybe fight Porter again. But let's just say if he were to fight either Errol Spence or Terence Crawford, he could have either gotten the Errol Spence fight, and then if he were successful, he can go off and face Crawford for undisputed, and then there you go. But still, like Crawford is still going to be dealt with that issue of not getting his 50-50, and he's going to be stuck with either a 80-20 or 70-30 or 60-40. But I think Crawford is just smoking on crack, man. I think business wise you are crap, but in real life, he seems like a cool dude. He seems like a cool guy that I would hang out with, and it's actually really funny because I actually speak with, or I sometimes talk with Jamel Herring, who's highly associated with Terence Crawford, and I tell him all the time to like tell Terence Crawford that he's a cool guy and I support him, and he gets like my messages of that I guess particular communication. So I don't hate Crawford as a individual, but in the sport of boxing, it's like, nah, dude, your ego is absolutely crappy, and you need to fix it, man. It's not gonna help you by time when you retire from boxing. But it's like, how many more years does Crawford have left? I would say he has less than 2 years left. After that, it's game over. Let's see. Let's see if the Bud Justice League will buy the fight. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, if it's gonna be pay-per-view, it better be like at least $70, and it should not be on Top Rank. It should not be on ESPN. It should be on Showtime. Like literally, that fight should be on Showtime. And Bob Arum, like seriously, he needs to get the hell out of boxing. He is ruining the career of Terence Crawford, and I think he's by far the crappiest promoter out of all sports, because I've never seen anybody like Bob Arum make everything difficult for people to solidify their legacies, and he just he just fucking backstabs everyone, man. He did it to Floyd Mayweather, he did it to Manny Pacquiao, he's doing it now to Terence Crawford. He did it to who's that one other guy? Oscar De La Hoya? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I said that. But he did it to so many guys that he could have kept under his wing. And then what does he do? He just does the same thing to all these newer fighters. And I think eventually Top Rank is probably going to go out of business if they continue that bad business model. But if I'm wanting to make the most money in boxing, I'd rather become my own promoter. So I'm making all the money off the back end. So I'm never thinking about how much money I'm being taken out, or I'm getting taken out from my promoters, my team, my management. No, that should all be managed by myself. And I rather do it like that, because I don't want nobody telling me what I want to do. I should be the one deciding where my fights should be held and where my career legacy should be brought to. But that's very much what I wanted to say about that. Pacquiao needs to focus on his political career. Yeah, I think he just needs to go back to the Philippines, do your thing in the government, and just never come back to boxing. I think Pacquiao, he's obviously doing it because I don't even know what he does with his money, but I would say Pacquiao, he probably doesn't spend it correctly either. He's giving all that money away to people that don't deserve it, and he's probably just getting more money out of boxing until he gets out, and I don't think that's a good idea. I think your health is your wealth, and you could easily make that money somewhere else. But I don't know, man. It's just like Pacquiao. He's not really in the picture anymore, and I think it should have been like that like a longer time ago when he was holding up with the title after he beat Keith Thurman. Because he's been out at the ring for at least 2 years now, so you have to think about it. Even if he tries to come back, it's like, what makes you think Pacquiao is going to beat a guy like Mikey Garcia? I don't think Mikey Garcia is going to let that fight be a toss-up. It's going to be a pretty tough, but it's gonna be like a rugged fight for Pacquiao. So I don't really see why Pacquiao should stay in the sport. I think he's obviously just doing it for one more huge payday because at this point it's like there's really nothing to offer if anybody really wants to offer a fight to him. But that's pretty much what I like. You know what I gotta say, man. I think Shawn Porter is going to knock out Terence Crawford, or Crawford has to fight extremely intelligent. And if he does knock out Shawn Porter, that will be a huge win at Crawford's resume. Only issue is just that you have to make sure you're boxing smart because Shawn Porter, he's not a pushover. Like this guy has made fights look extremely difficult for him to be beat, and I don't think anybody at the level of Shawn Porter would ever let a guy like Terence Crawford knock him out. It would have to be a really good flash knockdown or a punch that Shawn Porter doesn't see, similar to Kell Brook, and then Crawford has to finish him. Like you got to be on some Mortal Kombat shit in order to keep your status high. But I mean, if Crawford gets dropped or he gets hurt, in the sense of where he did the same thing to Igis Kavaleskis, where he came back, where he got officially knocked down by him, and then he started letting his hands go a lot smarter. Um, that's gonna lead to a bigger outcome of more risk in the fight. So I don't think Crawford should be doing that. That's gonna get you knocked out. But if he fights like the way he fought against I don't know what good fight would be considered a good fight. I'd probably say maybe like the Victor Postal fight, or maybe I can't really find a guy similar to Shawn Porter's style, but I mean, if you look at any of like Crawford's best performances where he did very well, I'll probably use up the Jose Benavidez fight. If he fought if he fights like that, or he fights what he did against Victor Postal, he can definitely get Porter out of there. But I don't see it happening, and I think it's going to be a chess match before we could ever say Crawford's going to do this, and that to Porter. So, yeah, I mean, it's up to you, Bud, Terence Crawford, Bud, Justice League fans to, determine if he's going to make a success. And I don't ever see that happening. I think Terence Crawford's in it for a tough fight. Plus, if he's going to want to keep his reputation high, he probably needs to fight Porter instead of making the excuse to not fight him. Because I think at this point, if he ducks Porter, that's a huge no-no, and that's a huge huge stun on his career. So, yeah, it's really up to Crawford at this point. But I want to see the fight. It's going to be a really good fight, in my opinion. So hopefully it gets made pretty soon. All right, thank you guys for watching, and have a great day. Bye.